of the video for lesson 3 in the Module 1 packet, copying and bisecting an angle. In the opening exercise, they're asking us to construct a scalene triangle. And a scalene triangle is just any triangle with 3 different lengths for the 3 different sides of the triangle. They give us the 3 sides here, shown AB, BC, and AC. In order to construct a triangle, first, we need what we call a reference line, basically just a line for the triangle to land on after we start constructing it. And first, I'm just going to copy one of the 3 sides. So I'll take my compass, put the point on A and the pencil point on the end of C, make a little mark to lock that distance in, and then copy this length on my reference line here. And because point A is now here on the new triangle, I'll call it A prime, and point C is where that mark is, I'll call that C prime. The rest of this line segment I don't actually need, so I can cross that out. Now if I go to copy one of the 2 other segments, I'll go to AB. Again, I put my point on A, and I go to the pencil point on B. I kind of lock that distance in, remember which hole I'm using in the compass. And now I'll bring my compass down to the new A prime, and I'll make a mark above the reference line because the new point, point B prime, is going to be somewhere on that green mark. For the 3rd part of this construction, I kind of have to flip my compass backwards. I'm going to put the point on C and open my compass up so that the pencil goes on point B. Make the little mark to lock the distance in. And then I bring my compass over to C prime. And I make my mark, again, above the line. And where that X shows up, that's where my 3rd point will be on this triangle, B prime. And then, like always, we're always going to use the straight edge, and I'm going to use the Smartboard straight edge to make nice straight lines. So there's our triangle, ABC, the scalene triangle. On the next page, I kind of just inserted here a little practice on naming an angle. The important thing to remember, if I look at the first angle on the left here, we really should use 3 letters whenever naming an angle. The second letter should always be the vertex, which I'm writing right next to point O. The vertex is just the starting point where both rays come out of for the angle. So one option for angle 1 would be DOG, going from one side to the vertex to the other side. Or if I just went backwards from that, I could start at G and get GOD. One thing I would say for any quiz or test where you have multiple angles, you can put a number inside the angle if there's one not there already. So I could call this angle, angle 1. And those are the 3 most common ways to name that angle. In the second angle over here, I'll put a little 2 on the inside there. Same thing as before. If I want to name the angle on the left side here, I could go MAH from one side to the vertex to the other side, or angle HAM. Or like before, if I put the number 2 in there, I could call it angle 2. And the same thing is true for the 3rd angle. The one thing I do want to point out, though, is for the angle on the left side, you are allowed to call this angle, angle O, because that is the only angle that has O as its vertex. I cannot do that for angle number 2 on the right side here, because angle A could refer to this angle, angle 2, or this unnamed angle on the right side here. So if you are not sure, use 3 letters or put a number inside the angle in order to name it. This page just has a couple of diagrams that match some of the vocabulary for lesson 3. If you want to copy this stuff down, you can just pause the video here and copy down those pictures. I'll leave it on this frame for a second, and I'll slide it down if you want to copy the rest of these diagrams in your notes. All right. Our next construction gets into what we call bisecting an angle. Now, the word bisect is just another way of saying cut, for this one, an angle, because it's an angle bisector. Cut an angle in half. We're going to create two equal halves. The first step for creating an angle bisector, we put our compass point on the vertex, and we make any arc we want through the interior of the angle, hitting both sides. My second step, I'm going to move to one of those two intersection points, not to point C, but where the red arc hits the angle, and I'm going to make any arc I want inside the angle, kind of almost going from side to side. Doesn't have to hit the angle this time. My third step is very similar to step 2. I'm going to move to the other intersection point where the red arc hits the angle and do the same exact arc using the same hole in your compass, going the opposite way, and we get this X shape in the middle. That X is going to help me with the straight edge draw a line right through the middle of it, and that is our angle bisector. So I'm going to make a little note, angle bisector. Again, all the angle bisector does is cut the measure of the angle in half, like that. On the bottom are two further practice angle bisector questions, which you can work on if you want to practice this again. But I'm going to skip ahead to the last construction, which is copying an angle. So this second construction here is called copying an angle. And again, anytime we want to make a copy of something in geometry, we need somewhere for that angle to land. So I'm going to make what I call a reference line here, just a straight line a little bit bigger than the bottom of the original angle I'm going to copy. My first step is going to be to take my compass, put one point on B, and the pencil on C, make a little arc, and I'm going to bring that same arc down here. Very similar to the first couple steps of that scalene triangle construction. On my reference line, the left corner is going to be new B or B prime. The other corner is C prime. So that's our first step. Next step, I need to copy the distance between B and A. So I'm just going to move the notation out of the way here. So from B to A, I open my compass up, pencil on A, the compass on B, make a little arc. And the same thing down here, because this is a copy, it should look the same. Compass on B prime, make a little arc where A is going to go eventually. Now, I don't know specifically where A is on that green arc, so I have to do one more mark with my compass. And for this, I measure the distance between C and A. And when I say measure the distance, I do not mean with the ruler side of the compass. I mean with the holes in the compass. So pencil on A, compass on C, make an arc. I put the compass down on the copy, C prime, make an arc, and that new point is going to be where A prime ends up. So all I have to do now is use my straight edge tool, go straight from B through A prime, and that is the second side of our angle here. The rest of this is homework, so that is the end of lesson 3.